shape of the soil particle. Shape of the soil particle is very important when we are calculating the means determining the permeability of the soil. The rounded particles will always have a higher permeability than angular shape particle. Means the more the rounded particle, means अगर हमारा जो soil particle है अगर वो जितना ज़्यादा spherical होगा, the permeability will get increase as compared to the angular shape particle. क्यों? क्योंकि specific surface area of the rounded particle is always lesser, which means if specific surface area increases, then decreases, then permeability will also get increased. So rounded particles have a lesser specific surface area, so we can say that the permeability of the rounded particle will be higher as compared to angular shaped particle. Okay, और जो मैंने आपको important, सबसे important जो हमारा क्वेश्चन आता है, what is the relationship between the voids of the soil particle and the permeability. तो जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया, permeability is directly proportional to the void ratio. Means the greater the void ratio, the greater will the permeability of that particular soil. And what is void ratio? Void ratio is equal to volume of void to volume of solid. So we can say that the permeability increases with the void ratio, but it is not. देखिए ये important relationship है कि मैंने आपको बताया the greater the void ratio, the greater will the permeability of the soil. But as we know, हम ये भी कह सकते हैं कि जो हमारा fine grain soil है, they have a higher number of the size of the void will be greater in coarse grain soil. But the number of voids एक assumption है कि the number of voids will be greater in fine grain soil. So we can say that the clay should have the, अगर हमारा number of voids parameter basis पे अगर हम permeability measure कर रहे हैं, and we are also saying the permeability increases with the number of voids, that means the clay should have a higher permeability. But ऐसा क्यों है कि permeability of clay is always less? Because this is due to the flow path through the void in case of extremely small, because जो size distance between the voids होता है वो lesser होता है clay के, क्योंकि fine grained soil they have the larger number of voids, but the distance between the soil grain is lesser in fine grained soil as compared to coarse grained soil. That means the discharge of the fluid that particular clay will be lesser as compared to the flow taking place to the gravel. That is why we can say that the assumption कि हम ये relationship को जब derive करते हैं, we can say take an assumption that clay will have a greater number, but it is also saying that the clay has the higher number of voids, but the flow जो path है, मतलब the distance between the void is lesser in clay. That is why we can say that the permeability of clay will always be lesser. Or there is important relationship, coefficient of permeability is directly CEQ upon 1 plus E. ये भी दोस्तों important relationship है कि अगर हमें permeability if we want to derive and we have given the value of void ratio, and if we want to determine the coefficient permeability, so we can derive through that particular formula. There is another formula, as we say that the coefficient of permeability is directly proportional to void ratio, or we can say that the K1 upon K2 is equal to E1 upon E2. दोस्तों ये इंपॉर्टेंट आप प्लीज नोट कर लीजिए इसे. ये एक नंबर में जो हुआ था कि हमें void ratio की वैल्यू दी हुई या हमारे पास न्यूमेरिकल हो, अगर मैं void and we want to determine the coefficient of permeability of soil, so we can derive to that particular formula K1 upon K2 is equal to E1 upon E2. Okay, and now it comes the another parameter where C is equal to shape of the flow path. For C can be neglected, hence K upon E.